This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Number 3 right here at Hialeah Park. Sean Stanley mastering the program, and now joining us, very kind to join us, Officer Ileana Torres of the Fort Lauderdale Police Department. Officer Torres, good afternoon. How are you doing?
Good afternoon. How are you?
Very good. Can't complain. So talk to me a little bit about being an officer. When did you get the bug, Ileana? Do you remember that moment that you said, this is what I want to do with my life?
Yeah, growing up, you see officers, and back then, it was a thing to do. Officers were everybody's hero. So my dad was an officer, and I have a lot of family in law enforcement. My brother's in law enforcement. So I kind of grew up in that atmosphere, and ever since I was young, I knew that I wanted to become a police officer. That was it.
That is so cool. What would you tell other young girls that are out there? How would you inspire them about choosing this path and servicing our community the way officers do?
I just want to emphasize that females do have a place in this workplace. I know officers are primarily male dominant. It is what it is, but females definitely have their place. And I think departments are starting to see that now, that females can be just as assertive, but also having that calming effect that helps out a lot on different scenes, and being able to talk to people. So I do think that, it is important that we have more females join our force, because we have a lot of say, and we have a lot of power in doing what we do.
Well, Ileana, I mean, any of us that are married, most of us that are married, we kind of know that our wives usually are the ones to make the better decisions.
Exactly. We're the more
on a consistent basis, those kind of things. You know what I'm saying? So usually they're the ones that save our butts from actually getting in any kind of trouble, because they think more logically than we do. You know what I'm saying?
We're a little more level.
I'm going to say, and I'm going to say on average, okay? I'm not going to.
Yes, on average. Usually the females on the shift are like the moms of the shift, and we kind of, keep everybody grounded.
What's the biggest challenge for a female officer?
Biggest challenge I would say is just being able to show your place and being assertive without coming off like, I guess, extra, as one would say. But we kind of have to prove ourselves a little bit more, and getting people to kind of listen to us and take me seriously versus a male officer who's big buff,
Right.
So I think that would be the biggest challenge, is just being able to, be assertive, show your place as a female, and, kind of taking control of things.
Yeah, the authority part, right?
Yeah.
That's almost that threshold that you have to cross, and they have to understand.
Yes,
correct?
Absolutely.
It's kind of a what and Officer Ileana Torres joining us here from the Fort Lauderdale Police Department. What is the most satisfying thing you do in your job?
Most satisfying thing for me is just getting that, like, when you're talking to people, a lot of the times they're like, oh, well, I didn't know that I could just talk to an officer, So being open to the public and to my community, and kind of giving just an ear for them to talk to, a lot of the times that's really all they need. So to me, that's the most satisfying part, is just being able to have conversation with people. Like I'm a normal person, not take off the badge, take off the vest. And I'm there to talk. And it's kind of like, my degree in psychology steps in and takes like a big part of it. But that to me is the most satisfying part, is just being there for people. And, they kind of see like, oh, I didn't know that there was this side of police work. It's not always catching bad guys, it's also being able to talk to someone when, they're having their worst day.
Well, and in talking to someone, and I've mentioned this before with some of the other officers that we've had on in the past, is I think that all police departments need to get back to officers talking to the kids in their neighborhoods of their
Absolutely.
districts and in their parks and all those things. Because when growing up in Arbondale, back in Miami, in Little Havana, we had our own officer that would come by and
Yeah.
hang out, and he would stop, and then we'd all go over to the car and BS with him, and then and then he'd leave, and it was
Yeah.
just one of those things that threshold was crossed, where we at least were able to treat him as a friend, almost, pretty
Yeah.
much, and then he ends up caring more about us, actually,
Yeah.
because he gets to know about us, you know what I mean?
Yes, that's how it
So he
works.
starts looking out for us. So
Yeah.
I think that element, I don't know, but it seems to have died out, and we
It,
need to
it
we need
absolutely
to bring it
has.
back.
It is a little harder. So, like you said, I work for Fort Lauderdale. It's a really big city. We always have stuff going on, Tortuga, spring break, everything. So we're kind of spinning,
Buses running
buses running, yeah,
right into your parking
craziness,
lot, and
absolute
yes,
craziness.
yes, yes,
The
yes.
stuff that you see in movies or on Law and Order is basically what Fort Lauderdale is. So I think we've kind of gotten away with it because we're always running on four cylinders, going at speed 100, trying to answer calls, get work done. But I will say with Fort Lauderdale, we did create a new unit. So it's the Community Violence Reduction Unit, which I'm a part of.
Okay.
And with that, our focus is connecting with the community. So every Thursday we go to Carter Park and we play basketball with the kids for an hour or two. Or some of the guys in our unit, they go and read to kids. It's little things that we do. So we're still a proactive unit. They have us, going to hot calls. We're a priority response team per se. But it does allow us to also kind of step back from going speed 100 and being able to connect with our community, talking to kids. Some of the fellas just went to I forgot the acronym for it, but it was a dance for young females who don't have a father figure. So they went in place of their father figure
That's very cool.
to the father-daughter dance. And so I think we are trying to prioritize that, especially with the new unit being in place. And I think that's going to help with what we kind of got away from, especially in Fort Lauderdale being so busy. So
Yeah.
I'm very excited about this unit.
One of the things that I would say for an officer, maybe they can laugh at it after. During, while it's going on, it's probably not funny. Funny to us, by the way. And that's lying. And you guys are obviously the best at knowing when people are lying, because they lie to you all day long.
Oh yeah, we're professional lie detectors. That's what we are.
Yes. So since they do it all day long, so Officer Ileana Torres, give us the funniest lie somebody tried to pass on you to avoid a ticket.
So avoid a ticket. Well, personally, I don't write many tickets, so they haven't needed to lie to me too often.
Okay, for
But
anything, the funniest lie to get out of trouble. Which is what did Officer Torres hear? And maybe it even made you kind of smile or smirk a little bit, that you're like, are you really telling me this?
so a lot of the times it's for speeding, right? And I'm in a fully marked Tahoe. Like you can't miss me. I have big lights on my car, Fort Lauderdale written down the side. It's big. It's a big Tahoe. Everybody knows what a police car looks like. So I pull someone over for speeding. They would tell me that they thought that I was a bad guy trying to rob them and chase them in their vehicle. So they sped up and tried to go and lose me per se. So that, to me, that's like the funniest thing, because like you can't miss my Tahoe. Like I get it if I was in like a Ford Fusion, but a Tahoe with big red and blue lights,
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily trying to rob you for anything.
Yeah.
But to me, that's just the fun. It happens actually quite often. That's a lot of people's, go-to lie per se.
Wow. That's funny. So they think
Yeah.
that you're the bad guy. And so, no, I thought you guys were the bad guy. So I had to speed up.
I thought somebody was chasing me, so they're gonna rob me for my car. So I just kept going.
But you sped by me before I actually chased you.
Yeah, you didn't see the big Fort Lauderdale. Well, I saw that, but I just didn't think it was. I didn't think you were a real cop. I'm like, okay.
that
The
is
things that
awesome.
people come up with are hilarious.
Yeah, I would imagine that. What is there a crazy lie you've heard? Is there one that like it was like that it was too crazy to believe?
No,
You haven't had one of
really
those yet?
nothing's too crazy for me anymore.
Okay.
Being with all the things that I've heard, um, but nothing too crazy where it's like half the things that people say to make up don't make sense because they're so nervous and they're kind of just rambling and saying whatever comes out of their mouth. But nothing too crazy that I'm like, all right, you just. But half the time, I like I said, I don't write too many tickets. I try to cut people a break, give
Mhm.
them that little warning. At least I stop them, tell them to slow down, but nothing too crazy.
All right, you're a college softball athlete, correct?
Stony Brook, yes.
All right, where did you play?
Stony Brook University, it's in Long Island.
Okay, in Long Island. All right, we were actually in Long Island 2 months ago over there at
Oh, it's probably freezing.
Slomin's Home Security. That's their home base, and we were up there in Long Island actually
It's
having some
probably
fun.
freezing, so
Yes,
I.
yes. It was well, not for now. Sean actually was hanging out in a t-shirt in New York, and he's a South Florida guy. I,
Yeah, no,
on the other hand, had 3 shirts and a jacket on, so
always layered up. I
yeah,
thought
I was
my
super
goal,
layered.
my goal growing up was to go to New York to play softball. My first year there, it was great. I love the snow because I'm from like Florida, so we don't see snow ever. So I'm like, oh, the snow is great. The first month it was great, and then winter really hit, like January winter, and I was miserable. For 4 years of my life, I was scraping ice off the windshield of my car with a paper plate because I'm in college. I don't have a snow scraper. Like I had a
Right.
paper plate and I'm scraping off snow. My hands are freezing. It's 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm late to practice. It was the worst, but the best 4 years of my life, I'll tell you that. But I'm happy to be back in Florida where it is a solid 80 degrees.
So, are there any similarities in college softball to what you do now?
Teamwork. Teamwork is
Okay.
a big thing. I know it's cliche, but being in sports,
Okay.
obviously, you need to work well with others despite their different beliefs. I think the same way in police work because there's other officers with many different beliefs coming from many different backgrounds that I have to work with at the end of the day to get home safely. I also consider teamwork with my community. So just even on a traffic stop, just working with the person that I did the traffic stop with to try to accommodate them, to keep them calm and let the traffic stop go smoothly. So I think that working in a team growing up playing softball definitely leads over into police work with just being able to work well with others in general with different beliefs and different backgrounds.
To be an athlete and to play sports like you do, you had to have a certain level of mental toughness.
Yes.
Because obviously, failure is very common in our lives. We all
Absolutely.
fail. You're learning how to sew. You fail a bunch of times until you learn how to do it.
Yeah.
You learn how to be a bartender. Well, you're going to make some shitty drinks first of all, and then you'll start making some good ones. You got to learn to be an
Yeah.
artist. You got to learn to be, all those kind of things. The adjustment to all of that and the mental toughness that you have to play softball is one.
Yes.
Explain to me how it changes besides your life being on the line every day, of course, but the mental toughness that becomes to be an officer every day all of a sudden.
So
Obviously, you had to take it to another level to do what you're
yes,
doing.
absolutely. Absolutely. So softball in itself is a big mental sport. You lose a lot more than you win. So, and a batting percentage, if you bat 400, right? That means you got 4 hits out of 10 at bats. You're losing more often than you're not, but it's still decent. All right. So a 400 batting average is pretty good. So that kind of trained my mental toughness, like not to let things get personal, to kind of keep pushing, know your goal, celebrate your little successes, right? Celebrate those 4 hits that you got to get your 400 batting average out of the 10. So that definitely kind of guided me growing up with my mental toughness. Like you said, it's definitely on a different level with police work. Because we do see a lot. We see a lot more than the average person.
And by the way, you can't fail 6 out of 10.
Yeah, exactly. You can't fail at all in police work. Otherwise, that's your life or your job. So mental toughness is definitely a big thing in police work. Just being able to not, again, take things personal, because people say a lot of things. And I don't think they mean it towards me. Maybe I'm naive. I think they mean it towards the badge or the situation that they're involved in. So it was a big learning curve, especially being a new in police work, was learning not to take things personal. If people tell me this, that, or the other, that's kind of like, wow, it kind of hurt my feelings. Like, you can't take it personally, kind of brush it off, because again, they're having their worst day of their life, right? They're not showing up to work when all this chaos is going on. It's not just a normal day for them. So I know their stress level is up here. And then you add on a police officer and everything else that's involved with a chaotic scene, you know, they don't really mean it towards me personally. They mean it towards the badge or what they're going through. So mental toughness definitely is a big, big, important thing in police work, and kind of being able to let go. When you're home, letting go of the things that happened at work and having that relief at home or stuff like that. So to me, my mental toughness helps when I go to the gym or I go on long runs, because that is how I kind of let my stress go, and it just keeps me calm and grounded out at home.
Well, if you want to join Ileana Torres on the staff, on the police force, FLPD.com. They are hiring. Go to the website of the Fort Lauderdale Police Department if you want to find out more. Of course, FLPD jobs. FLPD jobs, actually. I'm sorry. I think I said FLPD.com. It's FLPDjobs.com. You can also find out there to join the Fort Lauderdale Police Department. Ileana, thank you for taking some time, man.
Thank you. Thank
Excellent
you for
interview.
having me. Appreciate it very much.
Looking forward to doing it again. And
Of
you be
course.
safe out there. And thank you for everything you do for us.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a great night and be safe.
You got it. There you go. Officer Ileana Torres joining us here of the Fort Lauderdale Police Department, FLPDjobs.com. They are hiring, folks. Make sure you check it out. By the way,